Hi, I'm Hannah,
And I'm Lydia.
and we are a pair of bookends.
And we were just hoping that we could interrupt this episode to ask you very kindly if you would sign up to our Patreon.
Yes, if you have some spare change rattling around in your pocket, we would so appreciate it if you could go over to patreon.com/a pair of bookends where you can support our work. We have been doing this podcast for nearly 2 years now, and we wanted the opportunity to get to know some of you a little better. And via our Patreon, as well as getting exclusive benefits, you can also have the opportunity to share your own recommendations with us and to chat with us. And it's just a nice place for us to have our own little hub.
For less than the price of a coffee, you can get exclusive Patreon only benefits, such as our Patreon exclusive book club, where you get to pick the book that we read each month, and also
Early access to all podcast episodes.
and your chance to ask our authors your own questions.
So please do, if you can, sign up to our Patreon via patreon.com/a pair of bookends and support our work. We would appreciate it more than you can imagine, and it helps us hugely to bring you all the extra special stuff.
So come and officially become a bookend.
Now on to today's episode. Welcome to A Pair of Bookends, the book club you can carry anywhere. We are your hosts and hopefully your new bookish pals. I'm Hannah MacDonald.
And I'm Lydia Clare. Welcome to our February book club episode. Who can believe that we've already reached month number 2 of 2024? It's actually making me come out in hives. Today's book club episode is centered on Hard by a Great Forest, a beautifully unique novel about a son's search for his father. Following a trail of clues left by his brother, we follow Sabra as he travels back to Georgia to confront more than he bargained for. Poignant and in parts magical, this is a book that will forever hold a place in your heart.
Leo Vardiashvili moved to London as a refugee from Georgia when he was just 12 years old. He studied English literature at Queen Mary University of London. His debut novel, Hard by a Great Forest, was bought by Bloomsbury in an overnight pre-empt, with the rights now sold in over 15 countries. The book has been endorsed by the likes of literary legend Khaled Hosseini, and the book has had Leo hailed as one of the Observer's best new novelists for 2024. We are delighted to have Leo joining us today to chat all about it. Welcome to A Pair of Bookends.
Thank you so much. I've been looking forward to this for ages, and thank you for making it all sound so interesting.
It is so interesting. Very much so. As soon as we heard about this book, Lydia was straight on the phone to me and was like, Hannah, we need to have this on the podcast. I'm giving you no choice whatsoever. Sorry.
Yeah,
So
I got a
that
bit
was,
obsessed.
yeah, that was how quickly, as soon as you heard about your book, it was a case of, no, this is happening. So
Yeah. So really, Leo, you had
Great.
no choice.
yeah, you didn't really have much of a
You know
choice,
what
Lou.
it is.
Sorry. It needed to be a book club pick.
So we always love to start the podcast by asking our favourite question, which is, what are you currently reading?
2 books at the moment. Wandering Souls by Cecile Pin.
Oh,
Have
amazing.
you read that one?
Yeah.
It's similar to mine. It's about refugees, obviously. I've just started it because I'm going to be having a chat with her at a festival later this year, so I need to be prepared.
Oh, exciting.
And the other one, I'm in a position now, which I haven't been in, where I can get proofs from
Yes.
the publisher. It's amazing. So I'm reading Amy Twigg's Spoilt Creatures. I don't know if you guys have come across that.
Oh,
I haven't, no.
Yeah, it sounds just the right amount of dark. But yeah, look it up. That sounds like a great book. I haven't started that one, but I'm going to be reading those 2.
Amazing.
Oh, amazing.
When's Amy Twigg's book out?
I think it's in August this year. It's definitely this year at some point. So later this year.
Very exciting. Is that the one of the most exciting parts of becoming an author, a published author, I should say, is getting...
I'm a book nerd. Now I can get books.
Yes, free books.
That aren't
A
out
winner.
yet. That's amazing. Yeah.
No, it is amazing. Now, we need to talk about your novel because we have so many questions for you today. And Lydia rang me when she finished this novel crying.
I'm sorry.
So...
I'm
And
an
I
emotional person.
No,
This
no,
happens weekly. It's all right.
I hadn't finished it yet. So I was like,
Oh, no.
why are you crying? She was like, no, I can't tell you because you've not finished it yet. I was like, well, great. Now I know that it's going to upset me. So I was waiting, like, what is going to happen? And it's safe to say you made us both incredibly emotional over the weekend. So thank you for that.
I'd love to say I'm sorry, but
But you're
I'm
not.
actually not sorry. Nope.
No.
Yeah.
Nope,
No,
not even a
thank
little bit.
So your novel Hard by a Great Forest, it is, as we've made out, it is truly an astounding debut. Like, it honestly, I don't know why it still surprises me, but it really does when this is somebody's first novel. It's just completely mind-blowing. I wish I could produce something like this, but unfortunately I can just chat to people about producing incredible things like this. But in terms of inspiration for the novel, as I said in the intro, alike to your protagonist Saba, you also are a refugee. You moved from Georgia to London when you were 12. How much of your own experiences inform the novel, and how much research had to go into it?
Well, first of all, that's way too kind, but I will take it and run. In terms of my own experience, there's definitely similarities. So I left Georgia in '95 with my family. Same reasons as the main character does.
Yeah.
The Civil War messed things up in Georgia to a point where we had to go because there was no prospects, there was no jobs, that sort of thing. The main character escapes more during the Civil War, whereas I stayed through the Civil War and then we left in '95. So that, very similar to the main character. So some life experience there. And also the going back experience. So I didn't get to go back for I think 17 years. So I was like late 20s when I got back to Georgia. And it was really weird going back there. So it's the same thing that the main character goes through after 20-year absence. He's kind of I force him into going back. So it's that surreal experience that made me want to start writing it, to be honest.
And as you obviously used a lot of your own experiences, but were you writing, at what point did you start writing this? Was it when you went back that gave you the idea to start writing, or at what point did that start?
Yeah, I went back when I got back to the UK. I thought, oh, well, that was intense.
Yeah.
I need to do something with it. So it was almost like a short story that started it. I wrote the most vivid thing I could remember from that trip, which was probably just to myself, self-therapy. And then I got the premise of this chain of missing people. So the dad goes missing in Georgia, then the brother goes looking for him, also goes missing, and then the main character is the third in this chain. And it's a story of missing person search gone spectacularly wrong, like as wrong as it can go. So I had that premise and I thought, yeah, this has already got a beginning, a middle and an end. It's almost a structure, a plan. I can make this work. Oh, and then the zoo animals thing just landed in my lap.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm skipping ahead to a
No,
question.
go for it.
So in 2015, I'd only just started writing it for real. And a BBC article, someone sent it to me, WhatsApped me, saying, look, the animals have escaped in Tbilisi.
Incredible.
This is your country, isn't it? I was like, oh no. We've embarrassed ourselves. But yeah, the zoo animal escape happened in 2015. There was a flash flood. The zoo happens to be along the river, so all the fences got washed away.
Oh my gosh.
So literally the Bengal tiger, the hippo, the wolves that are in the novel, they're all not my ideas. I just stole those.
Oh my gosh, that's so scary.
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean that's a case of it's stranger than fiction, isn't it? You just think
Yeah,
that's
100%.
absolutely bonkers. Like, you read that and you think, oh, is this like a fairy tale element? And it's like, oh no, that actually
this is-
happened.
No.
There was tigers roaming around.
It's worth a Google. You know that there's a scene in the book where you come across the hippo. It's not really a spoiler. It's in the first few pages. I didn't have to make that up. There's a picture of a hippo that's just demolished a watch shop with people trying to shoot it with tranquilizer darts. Yeah, just have it. It's worth a Google, definitely. It's Jumanji come to life. It's weird.
I love that. Jumanji come to life. Absolutely. This book in itself is just, it has so many kind of like magical elements. And, even the title, Hard by a Great Forest, it's the start of like a nursery rhyme. And it brings to mind, the story of Hansel and Gretel. And this kind of, they talk about in the book a lot about, leaving a trail of breadcrumbs almost with how Saba's brother sets out this sort of treasure hunt in terms of come and find us.
Yeah.
He does follow it as if a fairy tale. What was it about kind of like the fairy tales or the more magical elements that influenced the text?
fairy tales are weird because they're all the older ones anyway, like the Brothers Grimm, Hansel and Gretel stuff. The pre-Disney stuff is all really dark topics. Hansel and Gretel is about poverty and then murder, but they decide to ditch one of their kids into the forest. There's a witch, there's cannibalism. So these are really dark topics to read to your kids, aren't they? And I've always been interested in that dynamic. Or how would you read this to your kid? And it also, I found it really fun to write that stuff. So in the novel, it lets me let weird things happen. You have this fairy tale elements kind of pulling at the edges of the real world. And I don't want to call it magic realism, but I guess it is, yeah.
I think it's quite hard to describe what this book is because it's got so many different elements to it. I feel like there's like adventure in there, there's mystery in there, like Lydia said, there's fairy tale elements. Like it's really hard. Like you can't kind of box it off as one thing. But I think that's also the beauty of this book, that it has so many different elements to it.
That's also the reason it got turned down by so many agents.
That's unbelievable.
I
And
can't
look what
believe
they've missed out on now.
They did a little bit, but I've got emails saying you're trying to do too many spinning plates with this one. Sorry, no. But then I found my agent and she loved it. Sarah O'Keefe, her name is. She just grabbed it. Well, I sent it to her. This is how stupid I am. I sent it to her like a month before the London Book Fair. So we actually met 3 weeks before London Book Fair.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
And she kind of went, I've got some changes for you, but you'd have to make them in the next 2 weeks.
Oh my
And
gosh.
then, with your permission, I'll take this to the London Book Fair.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
So this is going from like 30 odd rejections to this. I was like, okay. I didn't even have time to say, oh, holy shit, someone's interested. And I was already editing it. And then she took it to the book fair and I think came away with 3 or 4 deals already.
Oh
wow.
So,
You see, but I can't imagine. I just cannot imagine this book without each element in it. Like, if you were to take away something from this, it just wouldn't land the same. Like, it's so integral to the story to keep those kind of these plates in the air.
Yeah.
I think it just wouldn't work without it.
No, and
I
I
was
think
really nervous about it being boring. I didn't want it to get boring at any points.
this
Definitely
could not
never
be boring in any way whatsoever. Like, absolutely not. I just can't imagine somebody turning this down. It blows my mind. And all I can think is that they're like 100% kicking themselves now because I feel like I've seen you in this book everywhere.
Yeah. And if this isn't encouragement to other debut authors or unpublished authors to just keep going, and push through rejection, then I don't know what it is, because it really is a story of kind of like, you were told that it wasn't going to work, and then now look at it, it's taking the world by storm.
Yeah, I've got 30 plus rejections from agencies that agree with you. I didn't quite print them out Stephen King style and staple them to my wall, but I've got them saved.
Oh my gosh, no. I mean, well, your book is face out in every bookshop that I've been in Manchester, so I mean,
that's great.
Yeah, exactly. So it just shows, And also, what is an overnight preempt? Because I said it in the intro, but is that the case of that your agent took it to the book fair and it was just snapped up there and then? Is that what it means?
Yeah, so Sarah took it to the book fair. She also has obviously scout contacts who work for the publishers and they scout for manuscripts, right? So she sent it to her contacts. She's been in the business 20 years, and she's been an editor who's been purchasing books, and then now she's an agent selling books. So she's seen both sides. So her contacts must be insane. But she got it in the right hands. But the overnight preempt thing is a publisher going, we don't want anyone else to see this because we want it for sure. So we're going to offer something now, and you've got it was literally, you have till midnight to make a decision.
Oh my gosh.
So I was calling Sarah at like 10 to midnight going, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's like something out of a film, really, isn't it?
That's insane, yeah.
I can't imagine how exciting that was. But I will just carry on, gushing over this amazing book. But we actually need to talk about the content of the book because we want our listeners to snap up a copy also. So from the first page of your book, we're kind of under no illusion that you're going to shy away from the sort of the brutality of war and sort of the horrors of it. And I feel like you have a real talent at sort of describing the brutality amongst the the mundanity. Why was it important to you to write these things in such detail?
It's the reality of war.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of the scary thing about war and just death in general is that sometimes it's completely meaningless. I find that terrifying. Like if you die for a reason, okay, fine, you're still sad, but there was a reason. But it's just the meaningless of it. Like a tank shell goes through your building and that's it. And that obviously happens in all wars to soldiers and civilians. So yeah, I wanted to draw that out a little bit because it scares me. It scares the main character as well. So yeah, that's the reason.
It's terrifying, and I think it really struck me in that first page because straight away you're in it, and I think that's what makes your book so powerful is that the visceral way that you write. And I think you write something like, I need to read it for myself because I really don't want to butcher this because it really hit me. Sorry, I'm going to read out this line if you don't mind. Is that okay?
Better you reading it than me reading it, trust me.
So, see, war trumps most things. You'll find that a volley of AK-47 rounds fired right down your street will override almost any other concern. We heard gunfire by night and saw brass twinkling on the pavement in the morning, as though it had rained shell casings all over.
Tbilisi.
Okay. Sounds manageable so far. But when a stray tank shell breaks the sound barrier by your bedroom window, screams on and deletes the corner grocery shop and the entire family living above it, you'll begin to make plans. And I think it's that breaks the sound barrier by your bedroom window, screams on and deletes the corner grocery shop and the entire family living above it. It's the fact that it's like it's just in somebody's bedroom and then this thing comes in and completely ruptures your life as you know it. And it was the deletes the corner grocery shop that hit me as well, because it's just the term like delete, like it's, we use that kind of jargon so much online nowadays, but like when you actually think of that, like it has just totally eliminated that building and that family within it. And it's the fact that that's become a normality for these people. It's, I don't know, you just helped me to really grasp like the violence of that.
Delete feels like the right word because, well, if I felt bad not giving these people a name living above a corner shop, but that's how it goes, isn't it? People literally just do get deleted. And it's a horrible shame. That's not lived experience. I've never seen a tank shell do anything like that. But the gunfire, for sure, because I was there during the Civil War, and it looked like fireworks to us. I was 10, 11. So it was exciting for me and my mates. We used to collect the shell casings in the streets and then compare them, who had the coolest one, and that sort of thing. So I don't have, this sounds weird, but I don't have bad memories of the Civil War. I think kids are quite resilient. We just thought it was fun.
But I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's the way that you kind of show, and that's clearly from your own experience, about like the sort of innocence of youth and how, they, like you said, that there was people shooting where you were when you were younger, and you were all just comparing the shell casings. Like there's something like like that's terrifying, but like that became like your normal. So I think you really represented that well on the page as well.
I'm glad it worked. But that's a fond memory, yeah. Some people remember, I don't know, the holidays they went on, Disneyland. I remember bullet casings. Great.
Wow.
So one aspect of the book that I really loved is the concept of a guest is a gift from God, which is a motif that runs throughout the book. And so much of Saba's journey is based on the people that he meets and the people that take him in, the generosity of others, and the kind of Georgian hospitality. How integral were the characters that he meets along the way to his success?
They were key to it, really, weren't they? As soon as he lands in Georgia, he's in trouble. He gets his passport confiscated, so he's stuck. And straight away, he's rescued by a Georgian taxi driver, no doubt. And then all along his journey and this scavenger clue hunt, he's just being helped along by people that don't have much themselves. That makes sense. And I wanted to draw that out because that's the Georgian. I mean, that saying, "a guest is a gift from God," is an actual saying in Georgia. Most people live by it. So if they see someone in trouble, they will take you in. They will help you out. I've had loads of experiences like that myself that I could tell you if you like. But it's a national mantra.
I mean, I would love to hear about the kindness of people there, because I think, it was so beautiful to read about that, and it's really lovely that that's a real saying there. So tell us your stories.
Okay, I'll pick a particularly Georgian one.
Mm.
So I'm traveling back from the Georgian mountains, the Caucasus Mountains, right, back to Tbilisi, in a taxi. He goes over a pothole and literally blows both tires on one side of the car. There's like fist-sized holes in them. We stop the car. It's the middle of the night. It's so dark. You can see the Milky Way above. It's that kind of thing. There's no one around. He kind of lights a cigarette, and the first thing he does is he makes a joke. He's like, "Can you get me rolling again so I can pop the other two tires? I don't like being unbalanced." Like, it's almost midnight. We're going to be here for hours. He calls his dad. His dad says, "Yeah, I can get there, but it'll be a few hours." So we kind of sat around in the middle of nowhere. And then a farmer sees us from his bedroom window, probably from his bed, and decides to come and see what's going on. So we have a farmer come down and speak to us. He smells a little bit of wine, so he's been drinking. He comes down. He's like, "Oh, there's a garage a little bit up the road. Let's walk up there and see if the guy can if he's got spare wheels for you." The guy at the garage also had to be woken. He had to be woken more than once because he was also sleeping one off. But in the end, he didn't have any spare tires for us. So what the farmer did is wake up his son now. So his son gets woken up and told to drive me to Tbilisi.
Oh my gosh.
Nearly had a fist fight with the original taxi driver because he wouldn't take any money. I was like, "Well, you've ruined your car. We're part way there. I have to pay you something." He's like, "Nope, I'm not taking any money." So there was a whole hoo-ha over that. In the end, I left it in his glove box and then texted him that I'd left him the money. And we met up in Tbilisi later because he wanted me to meet his family. So this is the kind of Georgianness that I'm trying to get to.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, the son drove me to Tbilisi in the middle of the night.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying this happens every time, but this can happen in Georgia. I'm sure it can happen in other countries too, but I've seen a lot of examples of that in Georgia, and I really wanted to get that in the book somehow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
You definitely do feel that, especially, I mean, there's moments where he gets welcomed into homes and he'll sit down and be fed a meal, and the meal is the last food that this person has, but they give
Mm-hmm.
the food to him. You know, these examples throughout the book, I think, are really indicative of Georgian hospitality, and I think that you were really successful in getting that across, because it makes you feel like these people are people that you can rely on and count on.
Good. I'm glad it translated.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
100%.
and I absolutely adored Nodar. I thought he was such a great character. I'm not going to speak much on Nodar for reasons I cannot share with our listeners. But I can't remember Nodar's wife, and it's really bothering me. What's his wife's name?
Ketty.
Ketino.
Ketty. Oh my god, I kept thinking of Ika,
Yeah.
but that's his mom. But their hospitality with like how they brought him into their home was so beautiful. And just when you were speaking about your own experience with that taxi driver, then it made me think of Nodar, because the moment that he tries to the moment that he gives Nodar money, because Nodar's been driving him here, there, and everywhere, and he's letting him stay in his home. Nodar is like, can't even look at him in the car because he feels so ashamed for taking his money.
Yeah.
And he apologizes and says like, I'm so sorry, I wasn't brought up like this. And it's like, well, you're doing all these favors, of course you need the money for it. Like, but yeah, I definitely got a sense of Georgian hospitality. It was yeah, it's so beautiful. Now I find it really and I'm going to find it difficult now to avoid spoilers, but I will do. I find it difficult when I am either reading a book or watching something on TV or in a film, when a character is continuing to make choices where that puts that person in danger, and that their choices can lead to something potentially life-threatening. Now, Saba's determination to locate his dad and his brother sort of surpasses any fear throughout the book. Why do you think that was? Like, what do you think it is about a person that can push them through despite the horror of a situation like Saba's?
I guess in his case, his family, he's kind of the last one of his family left.
Mm-hmm.
So family can go a long way of getting you through hardships. I think Nodar almost steals the novel, by the way. I've heard that from a few people. Yeah. Like, yeah, this should, I'd read another book about Nodar. Like,
oh, 100%.
But his humor gets us through the novel, and through the tough things that happen. I'm trying to avoid spoilers as well.
Yes.
It does, and that's again, that's gallows humor is a thing in Georgia. It's definitely a thing. Just kind of laughing in the face of adversity. Georgia's been invaded 30 plus times, by the way.
Oh my gosh.
So you have to have a sense of humor about these things, otherwise you're not going to make it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what Lydia says all the time on the podcast.
All the time. Listen, you always know when something terrible's going on in my life. It's when I'm at my funniest.
Yeah.
It
I
gets you
think
through.
humor is.
I also absolutely loved Nodar's insults. I've never heard such fantastic insults. They're usually about mothers.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they are always so eloquent and fantastic. I'm like, I need to bank that in case I ever need to insult someone.
So
Do you
good.
have a favorite? Because I definitely have a favorite.
Oh, what's your favourite? Go on.
Am I allowed to swear?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's a bit when Nodar is upset with someone, and he goes, "I ought to go and shit in his oven." I'm like, yes, that's
Yes,
yep,
you
okay.
absolutely should.
Because nothing could be worse than that.
Nothing.
No.
You will never get the smell. There's nothing you can do to that oven that would clean it. That
No.
oven's done.
Fantastic. I'm telling you. Brilliant.
I just loved it was the string of relatives underneath "fuck your," and then it would be like several different relatives in that.
That is a Georgian thing. I like saying something about someone's mother is the worst thing that you could say. So
Yeah, I can imagine.
I mean, it's not the same in the UK. Your mum jokes are your mum jokes. They're not jokes
Yeah.
over there. They're kind
Oh
of
my
like, oh no.
So good.
One of the things that I really want to chat about is not only do we have the narrative from Saba's perspective throughout, but he has this kind of own internal narrative. But alongside that internal narrative, he also has voices of his family
Yep.
members, people that are close to him, people he's lost, childhood friends. Why did you feel like you had to give these characters a voice?
I have a few drafts that didn't have the voices in them. So this is like a
Wow.
behind the scenes thing. And they were quite boring because I'm trying to describe these relatives that he's left behind. He obviously feels strongly about them because he never got to see them again. And having them as just descriptions didn't really work. They weren't characters. So I thought, let me make them into voices, and then at least you'll hear them speak. You'll hear the idiosyncrasies that they might have, like the grandma clears her throat, or his childhood friend speaks a certain way. So yeah, that made them come off the page a bit more alive. So that's the draft that ended up being the final one. Yeah.
I'm so glad they were included.
Yeah, me too. Who was your favorite? Who was your favorite voice to write?
Nino. So she's
Nino.
his childhood friend, little girl about his age when he left, and she was I had to rein her in, honestly, because she was so much fun to write. She's this creepy voice that she started to sound like a Stephen King creepy little girl. I was like, oh, okay, this isn't what I'm trying to do here. I need to rein her in a little bit. But she's probably my favorite because
Yeah,
she's so creepy.
She was so great. She's not
Yeah.
creepy. I didn't find her creepy. I loved her.
I loved it.
Yeah, and I thought her story was. I really don't want to give anything away, but I thought, when he's reflecting back on his past with her, like it was really moving to read that, and really gorgeous to see their dynamic before. And also, when he's speaking to her through her voice, I'm trying not to. It's so hard to not to step around it and not give anything away. Everyone, just read the book, please. Thank you.
Well, we can say that she hides a dark secret from the main character's life, and that gives her this voice where she's able to voice some of that dark secret and kind of hold it over the main character. So that's what makes her creepy to me. And then obviously her story isn't exactly happy. So yeah.
Yes, that was articulated much better than me. Thank you very much. You are the author, though, so yeah, exactly.
But no, I do love the way that those voices, they push and they pull him in different directions, and they can stop him from doing something, or they can almost, in that case, sometimes force him to do things that he thinks, oh, I shouldn't do that, and it's a brilliant way of showing your own internal struggles. I know that sometimes if I'm doing something might be a bit dodgy, I kind of hear my mother's voice and I think, oh, what do you think? I shouldn't do that, you know. And it is that it expressed in, you know, a bit further. But I really loved that even the smallest things, like you said about grandma clearing her throat, and you think, oh gosh, no, I've done that wrong.
Yeah. Yeah,
Literally,
I feel like it's not okay. I'm glad it's not just me because I felt like a crazy person. Because I thought everyone hears voices, right?
Mhm.
Don't they? Like,
I do.
I don't, if you've ever,
I feel like this is a support group now.
but you know, you've had let's say you had an argument with someone, and I do this a lot. You have an argument with someone, and then for the next, I don't know, half a day, you're just having that conversation again and again in your head, but you're
Oh,
saying
yeah.
better things.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, you're not just stumbling around going, "Oh," you're actually making points, and
Yeah.
I guess that's the beginning of these voices. Is that
Mhm.
it's almost like talking to a voice in your head,
But you never make the
especially
point
when
you
you're
need to
doing
make
dodgy
in the
things.
moment.
Oh
No.
no
No.
chance.
Never.
No.
I wanted to speak about there is a moment in the novel where Saba says grief without closure has a way of fucking with you. I wanted to ask because I feel like this is sort of a feeling that is very significant to a lot of refugees in the sense that you have grief without closure because you've left this place and you sometimes can't go back and you can't say goodbye to people that you've left there. So has writing this sort of helped you with any closure?
Yeah, it has. So that's one of those. I mean, the book isn't really autobiographical.
No.
The themes are, but the book isn't. Some of the anecdotes are. Like, I really did learn how to swim by being thrown into a lake by my
Oh my gosh.
My gosh.
yeah, that was great. Um, it's okay. I can swim now, so I guess it worked. So I left in '95, and I didn't go back for 17 years, like I said, and I didn't get to see my grandma. She passed away while we were in the UK. So that really hurt. I
Yeah,
felt that one.
of course.
Like I heard while I was at uni, so I spent a couple of weeks getting very drunk, not going to classes. So I felt that one, and getting that theme out in the book was a form of therapy. So it was like a little bit cathartic.
Yeah, I can imagine. But yeah, that line just really stuck with me. So I guess thank you for writing such a beautiful book because there are so many moments in the book, and Lydia hates that I do this, but I have to put little. I'm gonna have to show you what I do. But I don't know if you can see that. But I do little
Yeah.
marks by, and Lydia, as you can see her face right now, Lydia hates that I do this. But it's if a line sticks with me, I have to like do a little mark on it. because
You
I
know what
love
you
it.
do? You
I
get a
don't want to
notebook,
tab it.
notebook and a pen.
I don't want to
Notebook
do
and a
that.
pen.
I don't want to do that.
Side. Not don't
Because
write
then if
in
I
the book.
pass this book on to somebody, they can see what line stuck with me. It's
Yeah.
quite a wanky thing that I do. I'm sorry.
I'm not going to pick a side, but I'm going to pick a side.
You're gonna pick a
I'm
side,
gonna-
okay? Whose side are you on here?
I'm going to go with you, Hannah.
I never win. I never win.
Yes.
Honest to God.
I, it's my book. I bought it, and I can scribble in it, and I do with pen, not even pencil. I will
No.
underline things.
That's terrifying. That's terrifying. Worry about you now. I'm gonna worry.
I do it all the time
I
with
scribble
pen.
in the margins, Lydia.
As you should.
Doodle. Yeah.
Oh my God. Right. So I'm gonna buy some bookmarks.
No. Lydia
Oh yeah,
wants us
I
all to
fold the
tab.
corners down as well.
Yeah, me
I
too.
knew it. I knew you were a corner folder. I could tell.
Well, I'm glad. Thank you, Leo. You can come again.
I mean, we have had an absolute blast chatting about the book. We love the book so much. Can't already tell. It is a 5-star read for me, which is rare.
It is rare. Can I just say that is very rare. Lydia is such like I will beg her. I'll be like, Lydia, this is definitely 5 stars, and she's like, but maybe a 4.8. I'm like, oh my gosh. It's
can
like
always
she has a
find
competition with herself for how little she can give out 5 stars. So yeah, I mean,
So
Well,
you
yeah,
can win all,
I think you're being too kind, but thank you. I'll take it.
you can win all the awards you want, but let's face it, you've made
stop
it now.
it,
5
Lydia.
stars.
5 stars from Lydia. is, it's amazing.
Can I put that on my
Um,
CV?
Yes.
Do I have your permission? Okay, cool.
You do. So before we let you go, I do just want to ask you one of the questions that I'm always fascinated when we speak to authors about what their literary influences are. So could you give us maybe a few names that kind of have influenced your work?
Yeah, this is where I expose myself for not reading more modern stuff.
Right.
But the book I was upset. I think I've read it over 10 times now. Is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and
Mhm.
I think I've mentioned it in every interview I've had. So, if anyone's heard my other interviews, sorry. But I don't know if you guys have read it.
I've not read it, no.
I've read it. It's
You have.
amazing.
But that's a debut,
It's
wasn't it?
six exact. I only found that out the other day. I thought
Okay.
I didn't know it was, and he was in his 20s when he wrote it. It's
My
nuts.
gosh.
But that book was a big inspiration for me because he does this thing where he can make you laugh and cry at the same time.
Mhm.
So for me, that's like 6 out of 5 stars. I think you'd like it, Lydia. It's really good.
Amazing.
Yeah, I
There's a
mean,
bit in there where there's a scene that's happening. You can see what's happening. It's a happy thing that's happening, but you know what's coming, and what's coming isn't good. And you're laughing at the scene because it's hilarious, but you're also like really sad because you know what's going to follow.
Oh wow.
So you start tearing up while you're laughing. It's insane. So I love that book. I didn't really model my book, or well, it wasn't an inspiration as such. I just really admired that one. In terms of like a body of work, novels, I like Cormac McCarthy a lot. He has this way of just boiling things down to one sentence, which is like a punch in the face. Like, how did you get so much feeling into one sentence that has no adjectives in it? Like, it's magic.
I'm ashamed to say I haven't read Cormac McCarthy, but Lydia has started collecting his books, so I am going to have to steal one of those because I feel like it's sort of blasphemy in the literary world to have not read any.
The Road and No Country for Old Men are my favorites because they're. I mean, he does go off on more of a literary kind of tangent sometimes, but those are like condensed down to bare bones books.
Yeah, I'll have to get on those. Are there any others?
Lord of the Rings was a big influence on me.
I love that.
I tried to write a sequel when I was a kid. I finished it and I didn't realize there wasn't any more to read. I thought, well,
Oh,
I can fix that. At the age of 12, yes, there's a new ring. It all starts again.
I love that. I can just imagine it as well.
Yeah, I would like to read that. What is next for you in terms of writing, and also have you got any events coming up?
So I'm going to be at a few festivals. So the Oxford Literary Festival, Hay Festival, Edinburgh, and the North London Literary Festival. So those are the four. I don't know the dates off the top of my head, but they're coming up in kind of the next couple of months.
I'll find those.
So yeah, if you're looking for events, they'll be on my Twitter. I'll be posting them up on there.
Amazing.
And yeah.
In terms of writing?
In terms of writing, I am part way through the second one. Yeah.
But we're not allowed to know anything, I assume.
I'm very excited. Very excited.
I don't know what it's going to be, if it's going to be any good or if it's going to be shit. So I'm not saying it. I haven't said anything.
That is absolutely fair, but I can say now that I doubt very highly that it's going to be shit. And I can't wait to
I'm
read
crossing my
it.
fingers.
Now, we always finish the podcast by asking for a recommendation of something that you've enjoyed recently. So that can be anything. It can be books, TV, film, podcast, anything at all. So have you got anything for us?
Can it be something that's not released yet?
Yes.
I read Harriet Constable's The Instrumentalist is the novel.
And when's that out?
That's out, I think, this summer.
Exciting.
And I read that, and as a writer, you know when you're reading something and you're just jealous.
Yeah.
God damn it, she's so good. Within the first few sentences, you know it's going to be good. And I've finished that book, and I even left her a review. So I would recommend getting that when it comes out. Whenever it comes out. I think it might be August as well.
Amazing.
This year.
I mean, when you speak about knowing that a book can be good in the first few sentences, Hannah was I think 3 pages into your book and text me and said this is going to be a book of the year. So, I mean, we had that feeling.
Yes, absolutely. It wasn't even 3, but it was on the first page.
I think it was first
I
page.
was like, oh my
Couldn't get your
gosh,
head out.
like, yeah.
That might be a bit unfair because that page has probably been edited more than any other page in that book. Because it's the beginning, right? You have to get it right.
Well, the
Stop
feeling stayed
being
consistent
now.
throughout, so.
Yeah. Thank
Okay,
you.
good. I'm glad.
But yeah, I think we've gushed enough. It is fairly obvious that we both absolutely love this book. So for our listeners, please go get yourself a copy. I will be popping a link in the show notes for all of the recommendations that Leo spoke about today, and of course, Hard by a Great Forest, which is out now. So go grab your copy and then let us know what you think, because we have many thoughts and we've been very careful on this episode of not talking about spoilers. But I think when Leo said before that One Flew Over the Cuckoo Nest is one of those books that makes you laugh and cry at the same time, that's very much a feeling that was captured in this book. I speak firsthand from experience.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, you're not sorry. You're not sorry. I don't know why you're
No.
apologizing.
Oh yeah, sorry.
You're not
Yeah,
sorry.
not sorry.
You wanted this. Leo, where can our listeners find you on social media?
On Goodreads and on Twitter.
Amazing.
Just
I'm going to
my
follow you on Goodreads.
My surname's quite unique, so you'll be able to find me by the surname.
Amazing. Thank you. And if you enjoyed this episode, listeners, please don't forget to rate, review and subscribe. You can follow us in a lot of places now. For exclusive content, you can follow us on Patreon. You can also follow us at A Pair of Bookends Pod on Instagram and at A Pair of Bookends on Twitter and TikTok. But that is all we've got time for. So Leo, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an absolute joy chatting to you, and we both absolutely adored your book.
Thank you for having me. It's been so much fun. It's flown by.
Yay! That's what we like to hear. But thank you so much, listeners, for listening, and goodbye.